I just want to start everything off by saying that I'm not trying to take sides in this particular argument. I know everybody's going to think I have a predisposition for a specific side or a specific anything because, I live near Keem and I work with Keem in the past, so they think I'm going to side with them, or maybe they think I side with Clown because I'm trying to save my own ass. I don't care. I'm just presenting my opinions. I don't care if they come off as biased or what it is. So, Beta Podcast is ending, but I wanted to weigh in my thoughts about this, and I am not somebody who had, behind the scenes access. It really sucks because I wanted to be like that. I wanted to hear, what happens behind the scenes, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I realized I wasn't ever going to get that chance after, a first week, because it was just because Clown and Keem, I knew it, were going to go at each other's throats no matter what. And Tommy just seemed like the guy who was like, yo, I'm on 24/7. I've always got time. I'm always free, except for when he's taking care of his kid. So that's something I always kind of assumed right off the bat was I'm not going to be a part of this, but I want to try to kind of not necessarily snake my way in, but kind of see what's going on in the inner workings of everybody's minds. I just want to hear and listen to what each person thinks and figure out what the hell is going on here. So I want to segment this a little bit, and we'll start off with the very end, which sounds stupid, but at the very end of everything. What are my opinions on Baited ending? I'm a little intrigued over this. For several facts, several reasons. And my reason is this, and I know this is going to be stupid, and anybody listening is going to think that, oh, you're an idiot, but in my god-honest opinion, I think Tommy should have been making almost every dollar that Baited is making. Because you think about it like this. Tommy, Clown, and Keem. Keem is busy as hell with Drama Alert. He's busy with his business endeavors. Clown is busy. I believe he's got family. I have no idea. And he's got a job. He's got a career. And he does YouTube videos. And he's all over the place helping people and collaborating with every YouTuber under the sun right now. And that's how Clown's just getting mad famous. So that leaves Tommy with all of this free time. And I think what should have come down to it is Clown should have given up that editing privilege that he had and given it to Tommy. Let Tommy edit the podcast. Let Tommy do all the distribution. Let him get it out there. Because in my opinion, Tommy's a good guy and he has all this time and effort. Why wouldn't you utilize the guy who has the least amount of subscribers and the most amount of time to do all the legwork? Give him the legwork and then give him the money. He obviously needs it. And once he's been in, I guess you could say, once he's financially stable, then you can start working on distribution equally or however you want to work out your percentages. But that's my biggest opinion, is that if you got a guy who's unemployed, has all the time in the world, and is literally only available except 20 some odd hours a day, except for when he's taking care of his family, utilize that. I sit at home all day right now. I'm not in college right now. I have all this free time. I wish somebody would come to me and be like, yo, I'll pay you a little bit just to do all of this work for me. I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, right now. I'll do it right now. That, in my opinion, is just standard business practice. I know it's a little, like I said, it's probably going to be, met with some confusion, some hatred. But that's the biggest thing, is that if you've got 3 people and 2 of them are busy and they're always occupied with something or another, or maybe Clown's on a sporadic schedule, why wouldn't you take the guy who's essentially free the most of the time and have him do the grunt work that you don't want to do? I know that might sound like pawning off the work, but that's why I say that Tommy should have been making pretty much all of the money. Because of that, you should pay your guys who do the most work, I guess you could say. Let's just put it that way, and that's the last I'll speak about that for a minute. So what's my other biggest complaint is that Clown's schedule, absolutely terrible, absolute garbage, absolutely the worst thing about Beta that I had to hear about a couple of times. Not often, a couple of times. But it drove me nuts that every time I would go on Twitter and I would see Keem and Clown and Tommy all fighting, trying to get Clown online. And it was this constant fucking hassle. And I'm like, listen, the biggest problem was that you gotta treat this like a business endeavor. And I don't feel like any of them, except for maybe Tommy, took this like a real business endeavor. When you have a show this popular, this exponentially humongous, you have to set times, you have to set deadlines, you have to set dates. In my opinion, every episode should have been recorded on a Friday and out on a Saturday. That's how important this show is when you're the #1 podcast in all of YouTube right now, pretty much. Bigger than Joe Rogan Experience, bigger than every other podcast except for the Rooster Teeth podcast, so as far as I could see, in Radio Labs. That's how serious this should have been taken, and I feel like it was never taken this seriously. But I digress. Now, I think a lot of you guys already know what I did on Baited. I helped distribute the podcast. I helped get it out there. I didn't really do much. I wasn't a huge part of the podcast too much, but I'm happy because I had a lot of great opportunities come from this. And I became educated in a lot of different ways that I'm honestly astounded that these were problems with the Baited podcast. Like how these were problems is way beyond me. And number one is just simply editing. Editing the podcast, I made it clear a million times to Clown. I was like, look, dude, you just don't have a lot of free time right now. I have all this free time, and I'm willing to edit for free. Literally, I told him, like, dude, I got free time. It's slapping some audio together, putting in some audio effects, doing a little bit of wiggling around, maybe some volume adjustments, and then editing into a video. I got all the fucking time in the world, and there was a secret goal behind that. And I actually have 2 secret things that I've been doing with Baited behind the scenes that I'm pretty sure the guys know about, but I don't know them. But if they don't, well, they'll find out right now. But essentially, I was asked to edit one of the episodes, and it was the Leafy episode. So Clown did the audio. He mashed everything together, made it sound awesome, and then shortly after, he uploads the video to YouTube, and then the video had like a rendering issue, so they lost like the last 20 minutes of the video. So Clown hits me up and he's like, listen, I don't have time to do this right now. I need you to do this and make it uploaded to YouTube, because the guys in the chat were bitching at each other, and I'm like, look, I got time. I'll help you get this video out. So there was a secret motivation for me to do this. What was that? It was that if I edit the podcast, I get to listen to the podcast before anybody else. So I had a bit of a secret motivation that if I edit the podcast and I upload it to YouTube, while it's rendering and doing all of its shit, I can make my own fucking video reviewing the episode of the podcast and get it out there almost, not necessarily, but almost before the original podcast goes out there. So I had a huge motivation to help these guys out with this. I had all the time in the world. I had a ton of free time, and I can make my own video reviewing the podcast episode before the podcast even goes out. Why the fuck wouldn't I do that? And I think you guys saw in one of my last episodes with the beta review, I only did 2 videos, but the first video got a couple thousand views, and people were really interested in hearing what I had to say about it, which I found was a great motivator for me, because I wasn't getting paid for it, and I was volunteering my time because I had a motivation behind doing that. And I'm like, why was this ever an issue? Why did this create tension? If it weren't so many things creating tension, then this wouldn't be as big an issue as it is, as I believe it would be right now, if there weren't this many issues. So yeah, I had one secret motivation there, and then the second secret motivation, which I'll talk about right now, this isn't like a big deal. This isn't like, oh, I was doing something sneaky behind the scenes. It was just simple. I created the Baited Podcast website. Well, not the website, but I bought the domain name for it. And then I created the business email so that we could do a little bit of business interaction, so that we had something more official looking. So during the time at the beginning, I got asked to find sponsors. Like, I got asked, hey, try to find somebody for us that will sponsor our episode. And what happened was I said, I can't just do this off of my fucking Joe Schmo Gmail. I want to do this off of something that looks official. So I set up an official email, and I must have sent out like 200 emails to a bunch of companies like, hey, do you want to work with us? We want to work with us? And the response I always got was the same thing, as, no, you only have 1 episode of a podcast out right now. We don't want to sponsor. You have 1 episode out, because that was literally all we had at the time, was 1, maybe 2 episodes out. So nobody wanted to work with us. So pretty much as time went on, I used this email as an excuse to try to like reach out to new companies, reach out to people, and figure out like what are some of the options out there. And in doing so, I became extremely educated about the earning potentials of starting a podcast. Like, oh my god. Like, I'm astounded that not everybody had a podcast before I figured this shit out. I am amazed by it. So I kind of became educated by doing work with Baited on how profitable podcasts are. Oh my god, how profitable they are. So it was kind of my goal to be like, hey, I got all this time to edit. Hey, I have all this free time. I want to be involved in the business meetings, not necessarily the decisions, but in the business meetings. And hey, you know, I kind of like every guy here. Every guy has a pretty cool fucking personality, and somebody I like working with to an extent. And it's awesome. So I got a lot of reward out of working with this, and that was just pretty much me volunteering my time. You know, I really didn't get paid much. King was nice enough to pay me for the initial setup of the podcast, which I'm very thankful for, by the way. That really helped me out. I had my insurance due, and I really did not have enough money on my account, so that was actually a really big help, and I'm very appreciative towards Clown, Keem, and Tommy for that. It's small, but anyway. So, what's my biggest issue about this, and this will be my last point, is that money and the backstabbing. Now listen. This is the part I'm going to come off as extremely biased. I do apologize, but I think I understand 100% where Keem's coming from with the anger towards Clown. And I don't particularly like the way that Tommy responded to this, but I think Tommy's response was warranted in a plenty of ways. And I'm kind of surprised that Clown isn't responding the way I'd expected to him. Like, I expected him to be a little bit more outlashed, against Keem, but whatever. We'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, I've been in that position before with where Keem's at now, where you come to find out that people are talking behind your back, they're making accusations, they're trying to take you down, they're trying to do something to hurt your reputation. Doesn't matter if it's true or false, they are trying to do something. And it was annoying because the people who were doing this to me were people I had considered at the time friends. Like, I would hear about conversations that were being had behind my back, and I'm like, why would I associate with these people? These people, I've only ever been nice to these people. I've only ever tried to reach out and be friendly and reward these people for just being kind people. And then come to find out that they were just sitting behind my back, just trying to tell me to fuck off or trying to destroy me in some sense. And I'm like, how can I not understand that from Keem's perspective? Even though there's really no new information that came out, how can I not understand that? If my best friend was saying that, like, well, I know Keem and Clown, they're not best friends, and Tommy's, I know they're not friends, but my point is that how can you not be understanding that if you found out that people who are close to you actually spend their time behind your backs just conspiring to do damage to you, and I know Clown didn't act on them, I'll talk about that in a second, but when you find that out, there's just a part of you that just goes, fuck it, trust nobody anymore. And it's kind of like a sweet naiveness that just goes away, and I miss that on YouTube, where you have that naiveness of, like, these people are my friends and they're not trying to fuck me over for 10 more subscribers, when in reality, that's all people do on YouTube. That's all they ever do. So I completely understand where Keem came from in his perspective. I understand it. And I think it's not too far I don't think he's too far wrong to have made the claims and statements that he did. However, their biggest complaint that I have towards Keem, which I hope he's watching so he understands, is that Keem is very quick to act. I think everybody knows that. He gets something, and rather than really delving too super deep into it, he just kind of rolls with it. And I think if you would really look into the situation, you would understand that Clown didn't necessarily make a mistake here. I believe he was a jerk for talking behind, his back and then pretending to be a friend. That's a big jerk move in my opinion. But Keem acting the way he did is just completely unprofessional. And I think that may have severed more ties than it did help ties. Because I know it sounds it's not going to be true, but I feel like the biggest damage from Baited ending is that not many people are going to want to work with Keem now. The new podcast that he's planning, they're not going to be as entertaining in my opinion. The people who come onto the show, they're probably not going to be people you give a fuck about. If it was literally just a show like Triggered, which by the way, I love Triggered. I thought Triggered was really well done, but it became a dick-sucking competition after Skag 3 left. It just was like, oh, look, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Oh, my God, you're so right. And I'm like, I just feel like that's going to be history repeating itself. It's not going to be interesting, in my opinion, and I hope it does well, whatever the new endeavors are, and I hope I get to be a part of it, too, because I'm only ever here to help people out. So, Colossal and Tommy, that's the last two, is that I think Tommy's outrage with his last live stream about it is warranted, because how can you mentally stand up to somebody who just constantly is putting you through a loop all the time? How can you withstand being yelled at all the time, like, oh, look, Tommy, I want to get you off the show, or, oh, where the fuck is Colossal? There's never any point where you get to take a chance to stand out. And I feel like with Tommy being backed down and pushed down as much as he was with that perspective, how can you not warrant that type of outlash? How can you not warrant that? I mean, I understand full and wholeheartedly where Tommy's coming from when he's like cursing out, he's going crazy, he's going bananas. And by the way, fuck Grade A and video games for being in that live stream. Fuck the both of them. That was complete horseshit. that they were like, oh my god, we have to see what's going on in the stream. I want to see what's going on with Beta. No, you guys have been fucking watching since day one. They've known about this shit, and they've been stalking the show. I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet Grade A went out of his way to fucking go out and see and wait to the day that Beta ended so he could rub his fucking hands together and go, wah ha ha ha. I like Grade A's videos, but what he did with Keem was completely fucked up and unwarranted in every way, shape, and form. But anyway, I digress. Now, the last one is Colossal. Colossal did not act the way I expected. And I want to say one thing about everybody here. Everybody from the podcast, at least. They are all, in a sense, man-children. And I don't say that necessarily to insult, but I say that to the sense of, like, have you people been on the internet long enough? Like, I'm pretty sure Colossal and Tommy haven't been on YouTube long enough. I'm pretty sure Keem's the longest running member on YouTube here. But, like, I've been told to kill myself. I've had that fucking futuristic cunt threaten my life. I've had people threaten me. Oh, I got DDoS attacked. I just got threatened in fucking League of Legends yesterday that somebody found my IP address and they were gonna do some shit to my IP. It happens all the fucking time. Where is your skin? Where the fuck is your thick ass skin? You need that shit. I'm sorry, but the biggest thing that everybody likes to complain with, oh, it's so hard to work with Keemstar. I've worked with Keemstar, granted nothing as big as Baited, and I've never I've never been essentially an on-call host for a podcast, but I've worked with Keem, and I understand where his personality comes from. But for the love of God, man, how the fuck do you people just go, I don't like this. It feels like man-children. And I'm just like, fuck, man, I troll. I've been trolled. I've had people backstab me. I've had people try to expose me. I've had people downright attack me for no fucking reason. I had a guy make a shitty exposed video on me. I've had everything fucking happen to me. And you know what happens? They try to punch me down and I keep coming back the fuck up. I keep coming back. I keep making fucking videos. I keep trying to make business deals. I keep trying to help people out. You can't knock me the fuck down. Why the fuck are you guys getting knocked down? Why the fuck is this such a big issue where, oh my god, it's the end of the fucking world, man? This is bullshit in my opinion. Clown's a fucking troll. He's made trolling COD videos. Tommy is a fucking guy who talks about hockey. He played hockey theoretically. He was in the fucking army. Keem is one of the original trolls. He's dealt with so much hate. Where the fuck is your skin, motherfuckers? Where is the time where you guys are like, fuck this. This doesn't hurt me anymore. I don't care if we hate each other. I don't care if we're going to rip our throats together. We're going to keep fucking working on this show because it's the #1 podcast on all of YouTube. #1 gaming podcast. Other than Rooster Teeth, within a couple others. But it's fucking #1 in so many regards. And everyone knows the name, The Baited Podcast. Keem talks about all the time he wants to branch out from Drama Alert. He wants to give that show up so he can do something more important. You had it right there. You guys have it right fucking there. Right fucking there. And you guys had to fucking fight over percentages and money. I'm like, motherfuckers, start your own fucking podcast. You know, Tommy and Colossal, with the amount of fame and recognition that they've gotten from that, they should have immediately started their own podcast as well, had that shit on lockdown, been doing Baited, drawn that thick skin ass up, had somebody hired to do all the editing work for them, do all of that shit so that that amount of work that you gotta do is null and void. All of this shit should have been #1 priority. And I'm so mad. That's the only thing that I'm livid about. Goddamn, oh my god. If you give me $18,000, if you give me a YouTube channel with 250,000 subscribers and we make a podcast that every episode of the podcast is getting practically 300,000 views, I will make the best fucking thing you've ever seen in your fucking life. Ah! I am so fucking mad right now, guys. I love all of you. I really do. I don't care what anybody says. Keem, Colossal, Tommy, if any of you guys are listening, you're fucking great entertainers. But oh my god, we need some thick skin back on YouTube. I think you guys are all great. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.